As millions of Americans celebrate the 4th of July, there will be plenty of food, fireworks, and fun. But a special holiday like this calls for an extra special dessert. Instructor Betty Ann Donnegan and her student Jackie Murphy are going to show us how to make a beautiful flag cake. Now, this is going to wow people, right? You walk into a party with this?
It's going to wow people. When you cut it, it's going to wow people. It doesn't look like much when it's finished, but when you cut it, it's unbelievable.
All right.
Now, Jackie, the first thing we're going to do, this has a lot of layers, so we're going to...
All right, we'll get right to it then.
We have red, white, and blue layers. And this, we're going to split the layers to make many layers of this.
Oh.
Now, Jackie's going to show you an easy way to cut a layer. You see this? What happens when you're slicing a layer, you need the knife longer than the layer is.
Okay.
But sometimes you go down at an angle because you can't see the other side of the layer. So putting a book
sure.
or a pen or something
to keep a mark,
to keep the knife level is a nice little trick. They have machines that you can buy, but that's, it's ridiculous.
We're only making this once a year, right?
So we have red, white, and red already. Now she's going to frost this. Now the frosting is very, very thin, because if you have a thick layer of frosting in between the layers, it doesn't look like it's layers. It looks like
the frosting then, right?
You can see the frosting. So, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put blue. So you want no line between the red and the blue. So this frosting is almost the consistency of Elmer's glue.
Okay.
Very, very thin.
It's kind of acting like glue too, right?
We're just trying to keep the layers together and with sticking them.
Okay.
So this is the blue layer. Now when Jackie's going to cut this out, and I want to talk about how we did these colors.
Okay.
Because this is a white cake that I made, and I used Crisco for the.
They all started out as white, right?
They all started out as a white cake, but the dye is paste, and the dye is important because you want to have really thick. You want to have really thick dye. I want to show this to you. It's a very intense color. You see that?
Yes.
So a little tiny bit of this makes a deep color. And this cake is pure white. I used Crisco for the set, and then you get a true color. If you're using butter, especially summer butter that's yellow, and you put blue in it, it turns green.
Oh, we don't want that.
We don't want that. So to get a true blue, you need to have a really, really white cake to start out with. Now you see what Jackie did? She cut a ring out of the center of the cake. Now this cake is 8 inches.
Okay.
And this is 4 inches, so you're exactly cutting right dead center in the cake. Okay, now we're going to cut a red layer, so we have red, white, red, and then in between that hole, she's going to put another red layer.
How'd you come up with this, Betty Ann?
Well, my daughter saw it online.
Okay.
And she made it, but the cake was terrible and it looked awful.
Oh no.
So she said, she hands me this, and she says, fix it. That's what she says, fix it. So I developed this recipe with using Crisco. Most cakes are made with butter. But white cakes are very, very fragile. So I wanted to make a cake that people could slice and handle without having it crumble and fall apart. And also, white cakes are very, not crumbly, but the crumbs get into the frosting.
And that makes a mess.
And that makes a mess.
Okay.
So this cake is easy to cut. It's easy to slice. Now Jackie's going to stick, the white one goes next. Right. So we're going to cut this white layer. She's using the same cutter. Now this is a 4-inch cutter. If you don't have a 4-inch cutter, you could just use a knife and make a circle with a piece of paper and just go around it. But a thin layer of frosting on the outside edge.
Okay.
And then she's covering up the layer too. Because with all these cut pieces.
Yes. I'm following you, Betty Ann.
If you don't use enough frosting to stick together, when you cut it, the flag's going to fall apart.
We don't want that.
The flag's going to fall apart. And this is made with cream cheese. This frosting is made with cream cheese, so that it's very white. Because it's just nice to have the contrast.
Sure.
This is for looks. This whole cake is for looks.
I'm sure it tastes good. Everything you make tastes good.
It does taste good, but it's really for the look.
All right, so is there a rhyme or reason to that? You're just putting it right in?
Now we have red, white, red.
Okay.
And then there's white, you see?
Yes.
And then she's going to put a red piece on top. You see? Now, she's going to frost the whole thing.
Oh, see, now it's all laid.
It's all right. Now these papers are to keep the dish clean.
Okay.
Because if you have a frosting like this that has so much fat in it, and it drips onto the dish, it makes a smear, and you can't get that off. So this is a way to protect it. I'll show you what I mean.
Okay.
See, this is our finished cake.
Oh, how beautiful!
Now, to get the paper out, so there's 4 pieces of paper. All you have to do, see, is just pull it out,
Right
and then
out.
the dish is very clean. And I mean, it's not a big deal to do this, but it really makes it look.
Makes a huge difference.
It makes it look nice. Yeah. My thing is, I want everything to look nice. Now, you see the edge of this cake, how it has the lines in it?
Yes.
Well, this is a cake comb. When you're making a cake like this, when you're making all these layers and you're slicing all these layers, it's hard to get them even. So if the cake is cockeyed, you know what that means? Cockeyed, it's
Uneven, yeah.
uneven. It's slanted. What you can do is put more frosting on one side, and then you do this. You bring it up.
Oh.
And it's called trompe l'oeil. It fools the eye. You don't know the cake is cockeyed because you've straightened it out with the frosting.
Oh,
I mean, when you cut it, you
trick
would
of the
notice.
trade.
Yeah, when you cut it, you would notice there's a little more frosting on one side than the other, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
So all you have to do is pull these papers out, and you have to remember you've got to use 4 pieces of paper. You can't use one piece and expect to pull it out. You can see how clean the dish is?
Yeah, looks great. Now, how did you get the ring around the top, Betty Ann? Is there a stencil, or you just kind of
No,
kept it?
we just sprinkled it on. She's just going to sprinkle these on.
Oh.
These are just one red, white, and blue shots. You just sort it.
You kept it even. I wouldn't be able to do that, is what I was saying.
Okay, well, if you're nervous about that, you could put a circle there, and then just you just
Pop it up.
and pull it off. Yeah.
So is this extra?
This is extra. These pieces
Okay.
are extra. Yeah, these pieces are extra. You need. I mean, you could do something with these pieces. You can make a little, something. But
Cake pops. Those are always fun. You don't like them? Okay, bad idea.
no, it's okay. It's just. I don't know, all that. There's a lot of, to keep this cake together, it requires a lot of frosting.
Okay.
So I'm not into all that sugar, especially for the kids. So,
Well, that looks
So-
lovely. Is there a secret to frosting? It mine never looks like that.
well, you have, when you make frosting, if you put too much liquid in too fast and the frosting doesn't have any resistance, you can't beat the lumps out.
Okay.
So the trick to making a good buttercream frosting is putting in a little bit of liquid at a time and beating it on high speed. And that, because there's some resistance, then the lumps will go away. Unless you want to sift your confectioner's sugar. And you see how white this frosting is?
Yes. Is
This
that
was
the
cream
Crisco?
cheese.
Oh,
no.
What do
no.
I know?
We don't use Crisco. Crisco doesn't melt in your mouth until it's 110 degrees.
Okay.
Is your mouth ever going to be 110
Probably
degrees?
not. Probably
Never.
not.
So that's why you get that white on your tongue. I never use Crisco in frostings.
Okay.
This is not, a grocery store bakery cake. So
I understand that.
this is winter butter and cream cheese. Winter butter is very, very pale white because the cows are eating hay.
Oh.
There's some butter in here that's summer butter.
I didn't know there was a difference.
Well, that's my job, though. See,
I guess
see the
so.
color of this butter versus
yeah,
the
a
color
little
of the
bit yellow.
frosting.
Sure.
Well, that's not a little bit of yellow. See, that's a
yellow.
lot
It's like
yellow.
your shirt.
Yeah. So this, if I tried to now, I'm not dyeing this frosting, but if I did dye the frosting, once again, when you're dyeing over yellow, you don't get true colors.
Oh, okay.
That's why they use Crisco in bakeries.
I get it.
Some bakeries, not all bakeries. But
That was wonderful.
So
over
I
there,
freeze butter in the
Jackie.
winter.
Thank you.
I freeze butter in the winter
Okay.
so that I can have it for all the time.
When you need it.
Yeah.
Hey, we should ask where's Stephanie. She's usually your sidekick.
Oh, I know. She's in Boston. She took Julia to the New Direction or the One Direction, whatever
One
that is. One Direction, yeah, whatever it is.
All right, we got to see what this
Ready?
looks
You ready?
like.
You ready?
I'm so
Okay.
excited, Betty Ann.
Now this should be chilled because, of course, the cream cheese has to stiffen up a little bit because that's very soft. Remember, we added liquid, and we don't even want to pull these papers out until we get the cake chilled.
Do you want me to do the comb?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know, 20 seconds left. Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
How's that?
That is incredible. Look at that. We'll put it right here so we can see.
And every piece
I am so impressed.
will look the same. Isn't that a wow factor?
That is awesome.
Yeah. Now you see how there's no frosting in between the layers?
Yeah, you did that
You see?
perfectly.
And that's how you thin it out. And you see how it's staying together?
I got it.
So if you don't put the frosting in here, then
That's
this...
the secret, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for this awesome recipe.
You're very welcome.
This is pretty cool. Thank you, Jackie, for being here
Oh,
also.
thanks. Thank you.
All right, coming up next, we'll give you a preview to the 13th annual Ferrari Concorso and Friends event when style returns. We'll be right back.